What is going on, guys? It's Shy here with another budget deck list from Team Homebrews. We've been away for a while only because we almost quit the game due to the fact that we weren't sure if we were going to get Opus 2. But luck behold, we actually did get a couple of boxes of Opus 2. We got one more box coming, which we're going to record online. An unboxing of another box of Opus 2, but we did get Opus 2, so we are continuing to play the game, and we are continuing to make budget deck lists, because everybody is making all these expensive decks. So we're gonna come up with some deck lists from Opus 2. This one is still from Opus 1, right now. But this right here is something very special that I've been working on, and I noticed nobody's built it kinda yet. At least I don't think so. I haven't been keeping up with the deck list, but it's my budget homebrew. And this is what I like to call DisMill. It is a discard mill deck, and it is running ice and wind. It's not as expensive as you would think. I still try to keep it as budget as possible. But you know what, let's get right into the deck list. The first thing that is pretty much the main focus right now is 3 Cid Highwind rares. He's not pricey. He's about $5 a piece. So you will spend like $15 for him. I think he's about 5. I mean, when I got him, he was 5. Or like $4. But he is pretty much the main focus of the deck. He allows you to, when an opponent like basically tries to block you and you kill it, they have to mill the top 2 cards off their deck. His S ability is you basically pitch off another Cid, and your opponent puts the top two cards off their deck into the break zone. So he's basically your mill engine, almost. But I have other cards in here that give him help, because one thing that Wind is lacking in its power. So I'm gonna put that off to the side. The next thing that I'm running is 3 of the common Cids. Cid has the same ability as the other one, but if you put Highwind onto the field, into the break zone on the same turn, your opponent puts the top 2 cards of his or her deck into the break zone. So he's basically like a weaker version of the original one, but he's pretty good. I usually use him to give me some early, kind of don't hit me yet until I'm ready. But he's not bad. He's pretty good, and I use him for his S ability like whenever I need to. The next card is, I'm running 2 Nuges. Nuge is a pretty good blocker, but he also makes your opponent discard a card. Now, the one thing I really like about him is the fact that even though when he leaves the field, your opponent gets to draw a card. So a lot of people will think, that's a disadvantage. I see it otherwise. Because it's a mill deck, you basically want your opponent to keep drawing, like, all the time. I want to match with this card, with this card and the Cid, just by milling out my opponent. Like, I noticed that I didn't have enough to get rid of him, so I was like, screw it, I'm gonna mill you out of the game. And I pretty much want a match like that. So Nuge is actually pretty good in a mill deck. I wouldn't recommend him in any other deck because of that draw problem. But in this deck, it's not a problem. Next, I'm running 2 of the starter deck Sarahs. When she comes to the field, your opponent discards a card from their hand. Just another thing to just basically make your opponent discard a card. Next, which is a card that I love ever so dearly, I run 3 Cid Reigns, because why not? It's Cid Reigns. Basically, when he comes to the field, choose one of the forwards to dull your opponent, deal it 4,000 damage, but if you kill it, your opponent has to discard a card. I like this card. I think if you're running ice, you should at least run him until Square makes something better. Next, a lot of people might disagree with this, but this is kind of like if you're in a tight spot. I run 2 Squalls. No Lagunas, you know. I run 2 Squalls just to, you know, give me that extra discard. He's just kind of there. He's not very great without Laguna because he's very expensive. But I find that sometimes with the right combo pieces, he can turn out really good. I'm not really worried too much about his power, and I'll tell you why, because of a backup that I'm running in this deck. Next, I'm running 2 Kujas. Kuja is great. I think Kuja is really good. When Kuja is chosen by a summon or ability from my opponent, the opponent basically has to discard a card. So you are already milling them out. You're making them discard. But now if you have Kuja on the field and Kuja is an issue, they basically have to give up that card, you know, whatever they're trying to remove him with, they have to give it up, you know, and I think that Kuja is a good way to apply extra pressure just in case if you need it. Kuja is the man. And the next one, I'm running 1 Cidphiroth. This is the rare. I'm running 1 Cidphiroth. He has first strike, which is very good. His power is not that great, but once again, this goes into the backup that I'm running. When Cidphiroth enters the field, each player, that includes yourself, discards 2 cards. I play him because a lot of times people are down to their last 2 cards and they got a combat trick up their sleeve. So a lot of times, even if I have, you know, I'm discarding 2 cards just to tap for Cidphiroth, just to summon him, they have to get rid of 2 cards in their hand. I'm already getting rid of 2 cards anyway, so it doesn't matter. But he's not that powerful, but there's a reason for that, and it's all in the backups. Last, well, not last, because there's one more card. I'm running 3 Thief, 2-drop Thieves. I like Thief. When Thief enters the field, your opponent puts the top card of their deck into their break zone. Standard. I like him. He's good early game advantage, and he's good just to pitch off if you need the extra green, which isn't bad. Last but not least, I'm running 1 Chocobo. I run just the 1 because a lot of times with this deck, you'll find yourself in a kind of like a pinch early on sometimes, and if I have a Cid on the field, sometimes I'll party Cid with the Chocobo, and he gets the extra 2,000. So it makes him great because when Chocobo party attacks with anything, all forwards forming the party gets 2,000. So you make Cid a 10. So it's pretty good. Every now and then I'll do that just to get rid of something. So I run the 1 Chocobo. Now, let's get into the backups. Let me move this to the side real quick. Let's get into the backups. This is the card that I'm telling you that Squall and Cidphiroth, their powers don't matter because I'm running 3 Dancer. Dancer makes your matches very easy, especially if you have 3 on the field. If you happen to get 3 Dancers on the field with this deck, you're not losing. Unless they got something to blow up your backups. You're not gonna lose with Opus 1 cards unless they got Thief and all that stuff. But if you got 3, they're already worried about what's in your front row. They probably won't target the back row. But Dancer puts in work, man. When you tap her, she deals 1,000 damage to all forwards. So you're basically dropping, you know, cards to your level of playing field. Like I said, Wind is kind of weak in power. But when you drop them, when you drop all of their power down, Cidphiroth's a threat. Squall is a threat. Cid, they don't want to attack Cid because if Cid is if he's activated, they do not want to attack you if Cid is activated. I will block. I will tap my Dancers. You will lose like 3,000 on all of your forwards. I'm gonna make Cid block your forward. You're gonna discard. You're gonna mill. Next, I'm running 3 Bard, the Ice Bard. Basically, when you put Bard into the break zone, your opponent discards 1 card. You have to tap an Ice, well, not tap, dull an Ice, and then put Bard into the break zone, and your opponent has to discard 1 card. It's pretty standard stuff. Next, I'm running 2 Archer. We already know what Archer does. You dull 2 Wind. You dull Archer, put him into the break zone, and you can kill a backup that costs 3 or less. Next, I'm running 1 Devout. Is it Devote or Devout? I don't know. I call it Devote. He puts in work. He's awesome. Basically, you break him. You choose 1 forward that costs 4 or less. You put it from your break zone. You play it onto the field. He's amazing because if somebody kills your Cid, you just crack your Devout, bring Cid back. Awesome stuff. I'm running a lot of 1-ofs in this deck. 1-of Riku. I didn't want to run 2 or 3. She's okay. You basically mill for 1, but a lot of times I get cards in my hand that I really want to use, and I don't want to use the 1 green just to have Riku mill. So I just run 1 of her just in case I'm in a pinch. That's about it. Next is 3 of the Thief backups. It's the same as the forward. Basically, when he enters the field, you put the top card of the deck into the break zone. Your opponent does. This next card is a card that's always highly overlooked, but I find him to be very powerful. He's very powerful. I'm running 2 Barley. Barley is good. Well, I don't understand why people do not use this guy. You basically tap Barley, put him into the break zone, and choose up to 2 forwards and activate them. He's very good for combat tricks. If you want to pull out a combo, like sometimes you'll have your tapped Cid, or you know, your a tapped Kuja or anything, and basically if your opponent tries to attack you, you crack Barley, basically put him into the break zone, activate both your Cid and your Kuja, and block stuff. He's good, especially if you're running mill. He's amazing. Well, if you're running win, period, he's great. Next is staple. I feel like if you're running ice, you run this card. Jill Nabat. You run Jill. I don't have to say anything. It's ice. You run 3 of her. She's definitely, I think she's gone up in price, actually. She's about $5 a piece now. She's good. The only expensive pieces were, I think Riku was pretty pricey, and Jill, well, Riku was like $5. Jill, I think is about $4, and Cid is about the same. So about $20 to $30 for those 3 cards. Everything else is just basically cheap. Next, I'm running 1 Summoner. Usually I use this just in case. I feel like I need it. And last of the backups is 2 Duke Larg, because ice in this deck is not great in power. So I like to have power. I like to have my Squall at a 7. I like to have my Cid Reigns at a 6. You know, stuff like that. Your Sephiroth at an 8. Why not? He just costs 3 and pumps all the time. Now for the summons. Let's get this stuff out the way. Next, I run 1 Shiva. I feel like I don't need to run 3 of the Shiva, just the 1 because I have the Jills. I feel like it's good at 1. Maybe I'll try 2, but sometimes I find it every time I get her, I always like pitch her off or, you know, get something else. So I just want to run the 1 for when I really need it. Next is 3 Sylph. I love Sylph because once again, she activates and gives all your forwards 1,000. I mean, reactivate your Cid, block something. If it dies, they have to mill 2 cards. Yeah, why not? That sounds amazing. And last of my summons is Veil 4, the starter one, because the other one is too expensive. This Veil 4 is actually not bad. I find myself using it a lot because it deals 3,000 damage to all forwards. I mean, why not? If I was splashing blue for Yuna, you know, it'll activate all my backups, but you don't really need it. It would be cool to run the blue, because then you can just reactivate your dancers, tap them again, deal three more thousand damage if you have all 3 of them down. Why not? But this is my DisMill deck. I like it. It's pretty fun to play. It's kind of slow. I would say it's super mid-rangey. Even though everything costs low, you want to get your field set up first. So I recommend, if you do take this deck list and build, don't play like with other decks as, you know, your first powerful monster card, you got to put it down. You know, you try to win with the rush. It's not that kind of deck. Set up your backups, get it all ready. Take a couple blows, like three hits, 3 to 4 hits. Take the hits. And then later on, your opponent won't see it coming. Next thing you know, they're just milling and discarding cards like crazy. But I like this deck. I've won a couple matches by milling people out of the game because a lot of people like draw power. So they're drawing, they're discarding, and they're milling. Take care, guys, and have fun with the deck. Peace.